Hello everyone, welcome to another Making Money Lovable video. And today I'd like to pick up the topic around specialists and generalists, and specialists having a really short focus and generalists being a little bit more, having a little bit more of a creative freedom process. And it's usually, people are grouped in these two types of categories. Where you either really know super well something that you do, and in German it's called 𝐜𝐫𝐞𝐞𝐿, like you're an idiot of that specific topic. It could be taken negatively, or it could be just taken as a super highly specialized profession, for example, and highly valuable therefore. While generalists are often seen as some that know a little bit of something in different types of areas, but not really very deeply, not in a super big focus. So they have a little bit more creative freedom there. And I've spoken to like a close friend of mine that she would call herself a generalist, and that there is a little bit of a negative connotation around that, because it seems to be that it's highly valued to be a specialist in society. So I wanted to speak about this a little bit because I don't really know where I am on the spectrum. I think I'm a little bit of a 𝐜𝐫𝐞𝐞𝐿, like a specialist, but also very, general, because I have many different interests. And if I look back at my, education, studying biology, focusing on plant sciences, and then really having this one topic, which for me was plant senescence and different types of leaf senescence. But I would focus on mitochondria and metabolism and their role during this process. So it is very niched, it's super specialized, and then you can do different types of things, different types of techniques, experimental methods, and learn, but it's like the knowledge is always around that topic. So doing a PhD is a highly specialized profession, path of somebody to take. And I know that during my PhD at some point I felt like, I don't get to know about so many other aspects of plant science. And even though I never got bored or anything, because I really liked my topic and my research group and everything, it was kind of missing somehow. But I also didn't take the time or put effort into learning a lot of other things, because there are so many things to do already for my PhD. So yeah, that's kind of specialized. And then when I exited academia and decided to become a scientific illustrator, I kind of, in a way, broadened my professional career or professional path, because I suddenly decided, well, I'll start a business. And that's something very different than becoming and studying and doing a PhD and becoming a scientist. So I had to relearn a lot of other things that I had no clue about. So I was kind of like generalizing again and learning new tools. But still, my specialized education knowledge that I got from the field of science, from plant science, was still used in my company and is still heavily used. At the same time, I couple art to it. So all the skills that I have when it comes to drawing, painting, illustrating, layout, all kinds of artistic, creative things are thrown at that as well. So it's kind of becoming again a little bit more generalized. But that I can't really say that either, because there's not so many scientific illustrators out in the world. It's becoming more and more, and there's tons of space. So if any of you wants to become a scientific illustrator, go for it. There's plenty of institutions, people, anybody, basically a lot of people need that, or like institutions and organizations, networks, whatsoever. So it is, again, even though I have the science and I have the art and I have the business worlds, which are very different, so very general, but like a little bit, like each one of them very specific, but combined into something that's kind of covering so much that makes it general again. So for me, it's super confusing. I don't really know. Because then being that person with all of these different skills that are kind of general, I'm specialized again. So for me, it's a little bit confusing. And at the same time, I also get to know all kinds of things around in the science realm around my job, because I learned so many different things that I was missing in my PhD from all kinds of areas of plant science. And not only plant science, because I don't only illustrate in that realm mainly, but I also get to know about the medical field here and there, and some biochemistry. So I get to know a lot of different things. So I'm becoming generalized again, and yet I'm applying specialized skills and knowledge to actually create illustrations. So it's a little bit of a, it's not just one or the other. It's not just being a specialist or being a generalist. It's kind of a beautiful mix and match of everything, at least in my case. So then I decided I'm not gonna use any of these labels, or I'm not gonna think about this more than necessary. Just I thought it's an interesting concept to discuss, because also in my PhD, at least when I was specializing on that path of science and focusing on that aspect of science, I felt that there was not so much creative freedom. But it doesn't mean that science isn't creative and there is no freedom in science. It just means for the setup of doing a PhD, running a certain project for a certain time, with a certain budget, with a certain aim, with certain, bosses and people to say, like, also direct what to do, how to do. It's not so much freedom in a way. While then doing scientific illustrations for others, it gives me a lot of freedom, because I can illustrate so many different things. At the same time, people come to me with very specific things. So I'm, again, a little bit specialized and focused on one topic. Does it take away creativity for me? Not really either, because I get delivered the science and I can throw out all my creativity on it. My thoughts, also my creative thinking when it comes to scientific thinking, because I think that's very important. Science is not just logic and data and rationality and, numbers. It also benefits from creatively solving an issue, or creatively asking questions, creatively thinking in general. Oftentimes when I discuss with my clients, they realize certain things that they haven't realized before, just by the way that I speak and ask and wonder and try to find out what it is that they want me to depict. So it's a lot of creativity, and then I can often choose how I want to depict the illustration. So I can throw a lot of creative art on it. So it's, again, like creative art styles on it, and thoughts and colors and stuff like that. So it's basically, it's like a beautiful mess of all of these things, depending on at what stage I am, for what project, what aim there is. It's kind of both. It's a specialty, and it's kind of a specialty with creative flow. Even though I categorize specialty as super focused and being a generalist with creative flow, it's kind of, I think the take-home message is maybe just that there is no clear boundaries. There is these different things that we can apply and do the way we want to do, depending on the situation and the project, whatever fits. And I think it's actually really good to be able to have both of these skill sets and both of these ways of being able to super sharply focus on something really tiny scientific, but then also zoom out and get a little bit more creative and broader, and to somehow combine these two skills. So yeah, in the end, I think it all doesn't really matter whether one calls themselves, or I call myself a specialist or generalist. It doesn't matter. I'm kind of both, and a mix of it and none of it at all at the same time. I don't know. These are my thoughts for today. And I would actually really love to hear what you think about it, or how you feel about it, how you experience that. And maybe there's a different angle to it that I haven't realized yet. So yeah, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I wish you a great Monday and a nice week ahead, and talk to you next week. Bye bye.